Now, in the current economic climate, bills seems to be just piling up for many, and for parents, that includes school fees. Now, well, a recent survey by Credit Bureau shows that the collection of fees is currently the biggest challenge for both private and public schools. So our reporter, eNCA's Aviwe Mtile, is speaking to the Education Department and parents, and he joins us now. Aviwe, good morning to you, a colleague. I mean, this conversation is definitely relevant, especially because we're waiting for, pupils to go back to school on the 15th of February. But the truth is, parents can't afford to pay school fees.
Yes, that was definitely evident in that TPN survey, school survey, basically looking at the challenges that faced by schools. At the crux of it all is the ability to collect school fees because of the parents not able to pay. Out of those that can't pay, almost 40% of them don't pay any school fees at all for the year. So it leaves a burden to the schooling system as a whole, and it has a ripple effect, of course, on the teachers. But just to get that better understanding on exactly how it impacts the teachers, I am joined by Xolani Fagute from the South African Democratic Teachers Union. Thank you for joining us at eNCA. But surely this issue of parents not being able to pay school fees has a dire impact on teachers. Give us the idea on what it's like on the ground. What are your members telling you?
Well, thank you, Aviwe. And first, let me greet you and let me greet the viewers of eNCA as well. Look, the results from the TPN survey are to be expected because of the economic downturn that we have experienced. But however, the impact is quite severe at the school level. We were conducting our own survey as well as teacher unions at some point, and we discovered that even when you talk from a COVID context, that the schools that are expected to procure their own COVID material are not able to, because now we're not necessarily getting that particular income that we're expecting. It moves beyond that. You also have got educators that are appointed by the SGBs and contracted by the SGBs, and therefore expect remuneration for their work from the SGBs that are now currently not necessarily being able to do that. So it is a serious problem. It obviously does affect our morale as well as educators on the ground, because it has a direct impact on the quality of teaching and learning that we actually experience on the ground. So there are those challenges that remain indeed.
You mentioned the teachers paid by the SGB. Can you give us an indication? I know you represent both public and private schools. What happens then when the SGBs can't pay? What happens on the ground?
Well, when you look at the South African School Act, it has got some recourse that are meant for the SGBs, that then SGBs can actually undertake when parents are not necessarily able to pay their fees. However, what we are now also seeing is that you've got instances in private schools whereby they are even able to stop a child from going to school merely because a parent cannot pay. And of course, that is illegal. It is not supposed to happen like that in this particular country. So yes, we also have got membership, obviously mostly in the public sector, but then also in the private sector as well. So yes, SGPs do have got that particular recourse according to that is dictated to the Act. But then what we're saying also, is that it is important to call on the parents, those that can, in particular, as we are moving towards this particular pandemic, to actually ensure that they try their level best, minimal as they can, to in fact pay school fees when they can. But now, for us, what is also important is that moving forward, what then should happen? And that is where we want to talk about the funding formula and the funding model, in particularly as it relates to public schools. And we are saying that we are calling for a more equitable funding model, because what you currently have is an inequitable funding model. So it actually entrenches inequalities. So moving forward for sustainability, because we are still going to be having this discussion, by the way, this is not the end of it. So then moving forward, we need as a country to have a particular conversation, particularly have a radical paradigm shift towards the funding model that we're employing currently.
Quickly, what is the Department of Education, though, saying about the issues that your teachers and members face?
Well, look, we continuously engage the Department of Basic Education. We are hoping that some of the issues that we are raising are going to be treated with far much more urgency. I mean, it shocks us right now, Aviwe, that you've got for the next coming few years, we must expect education budget cuts. Now, how do you expect education budget cuts in a country that has got a national development plan that places education as a priority? And therefore, it tells you that we definitely do need to have that particular conversation as a collective, as a country.
Thank you very much, Xolani Fagute. Touching on the education budget cuts, which we do understand for the 2020-21 financial year, that's at 5.3% budget cut. Top of it all is the woes that the schools face themselves, saying that at the crux of it is the inability of parents and paying school fees, both for public and private schools.